How's it going, you guys? So I'm just here drinking my delicious morning protein coffee that I made completely from scratch. And I felt inspired to make a video talking more about iron overload. So if you haven't already, go back and watch my previous video on iron overload. If you want to find it, just search my channel name and then iron overload, and you'll find quite a few videos, including one where I talk about a famous YouTuber named Juji Mufu who actually developed iron overload from consuming way too much cream of wheat, which is a fortified food that's fortified with over 60% of your daily value of supplemental iron. And he blamed red meat, which is unfortunate considering it's pretty obvious all that supplemental iron you're getting from the cream of wheat was causing your problems. But watch my videos, my previous videos on iron overload, so you understand the dangers of iron overload. So I wanted to touch on just how prevalent iron overload probably is, and people aren't even aware of it. So obviously at a baseline, if you have iron overload, it is easily detectable through blood tests, by measuring your red blood cell count, your serum ferritin, and a wide variety of blood markers. Even a doctor who isn't well versed in what these blood markers even mean, because a lot of them aren't, would be able to tell something's going wrong with your iron in the body just by looking at a basic blood test. Most of them would find something is immediately wrong. There's so many markers that are affected by iron consumption. So there's going to be a definite dysregulation or abnormality in your blood markers if you have iron overload. But for whatever reason, a lot of people miss it, and it can cause a wide variety of problems. As I mentioned in my other videos, general overview, it can contribute to a wide variety of heart disease issues, heart conditions, liver damage, pancreatic damage, which can lead to diabetes, renal failure. And the list goes on and on and on. Mysterious mental issues people might have, weakness and fatigue and lethargy and depression, could all be caused by iron overload. And the big problem here is that it's so prevalent in our food supply. So again, as a refresher, there's a huge difference between iron from red meat, iron from plant foods, and then iron from supplements, okay? So these fortified iron supplements that are added to cereals, they're added to breads, they're added to rices and all kinds of foods. They're in, meal replacement powders and protein supplements even, baby formulas, and then also Ensure, which is a drink, a nutritional shake that they give cancer patients. Supplemental iron can directly contribute to cancer. It's an oxidative compound, and when you consume it beyond adequate needs, can directly contribute towards all sorts of oxidative stress conditions, creating reactive oxygen species that increase your body's need for antioxidant defenses, whether that's endogenously from glutathione and superoxide dismutase and these others, or exogenously, if you believe polyphenols have an antioxidant capacity, vitamin C and things of that nature. But it's added to baby formulas, cereals, that they're constantly pushing children to eat from an early age. And many cereals have large amounts of iron in them, anywhere from 20% of the daily value per serving, all the way up to 60 and 70% of your daily value. And that's insane. Children all through their childhood, for years, for decades. I know adults that still eat this crap, eat these fortified cereals, super high in supplemental iron, and then they drink, orange juice on the side, which, as far as I know, is not supplemented with iron, which is a good thing, but typically they add calcium and other things to it. And then of course things like cream of wheat. You know, most white rices are fortified with iron, besides some like jasmine and basmati. Cream of wheat. What else? You know, all sorts of breads, white flours, Twinkies, and these, you know, other processed foods. Oatmeal, mostly the kind that you find in the packet, that has sugar and other things added to it. And I know I'm missing a lot, but pretty much the majority of our society are eating insane amounts of supplemental iron. And you know, when you're coming from my perspective, I've been eating like zero refined foods other than maybe white jasmine rice for the last 6 years. You know, and occasionally I might eat some, you know, I might have had something else, but very rarely have I ever allowed myself to, like, I probably once a year, if even that, at this point in time, consume white bread or anything like that. I mean, that's like hardly ever. In fact, I don't remember the last time I had any of those. Point is, when you're coming from this perspective, you forget all of the little things that are in the food supply that are contributing towards, you know, people's ill health, or that are probably contributing towards it. Like, you forget all the negatives about the food supply. You forget that about the supplemental iron that's fortified in these foods, which is a huge problem. You forget about, you know, obviously just how many added sugars people are consuming through condiments and these other things. Were added to meats now. They have like marinades that have like 20 grams of sugar per 4 ounces of meat. You forget about all this crap. And the really crazy thing is just how many people are getting over 500% of their daily value from iron from these fortified foods. And, you know, they're sick, they're developing all sorts of autoimmune illnesses and these things. And doctors are blaming genetics, and people are completely unaware of this. And I have a lot of friends who, like, they'll reply to my Instagram stories about, you know, health and the modern medical system, and they'll tell me, they'll be like, yeah, man, like, you know, the key to health and wellness is avoiding processed foods. But then they're, you know, I see the foods that they're eating, and they're eating a lot of fortified foods. They have no clue. Like people, a lot of people, they just want to believe that they have nothing to worry about. They don't actually examine the things that they're doing and examine the reality behind the health effects, or even inquire further. Not unless they actually care about their health, obviously. But so it's very, very possible that many of our diseases that we're experiencing could be caused by the iron overload. So, you know, I've been pretty vocal lately and pretty convinced. I've been pretty convinced that insulin resistance underlies the vast majority of chronic diseases. Everything from obviously diabetes, but also heart disease, and now even cancer. But beyond insulin resistance, like, the big thing is oxidative damage seems to be the primary thing here. So we have, you know, some pretty compelling mechanisms of omega-6, linoleic acid, creating a condition in the body where there's more, for one, being highly oxidative, you know, creating free radicals and requiring, again, more antioxidant production. But then, of course, you know, high amounts of refined carbs in general, and just high amounts of excessive glucose in the body in general, seems to obviously creates advanced glycation end products and many other aspects of reactive oxygen species. So a lot of this seems to come down to reactive oxygen species and oxidation compared to how much antioxidant defense the person has. And so iron is, again, a huge contributor towards oxidation and free radical damage. And obviously it's mostly in excess iron, but the point here is all of this seems to have to do with oxidation and free radical damage. And so it's crazy, our entire society, they're eating the perfect storm of foods that just destroy health. But again, I'm going way off the mark here. The point here is people are consuming well over 600% of their daily value. I mean, that's just an estimate, but they're consuming a shit ton of supplemental iron from these fortified foods. And these fortified and this form of iron they're consuming is extremely harmful to health. And most people have no clue. In fact, these foods, these fortified foods, are seen as a positive thing to prevent anemia and all this crap, which doesn't seem to be working, because most of the people I know that have anemia eat mostly fortified foods. It's probably harming people way more than it's helping people. So, eating too much iron is not the same as eating too many B vitamins. You can take a ton of supplemental B vitamins and not really see too much harm to your health. At a certain point, though, I'd say the kidneys might be a limiting factor, but iron is a different story. So with that being said, leave your questions and comments down below. I'm just shocked, at the extreme significant things people need to pay attention to that they're completely unaware of, and they're oblivious to it. Leave your questions and comments down below, and I'll talk to you all next time.